Irish History Lost, the Civil War and the Destruction of the Four Courts. The Four Courts is one of Dublin's most iconic buildings. Designed by the famous architect James Gandon, the building was completed in 1802. In the 1870s, the archive of medieval documents previously held at Dublin Castle were moved to a new building at the Four Courts complex, the Public Records Office. However, none could have foreseen how this building itself would become centre stage in Irish history in the coming decades. The early 20th century saw society in Ireland radicalised. In 1913, the greatest trade union dispute in Irish history, the Dublin Lockout, saw Dublin employers deny workers the right to join a trade union. 3 years later, this was followed by the 1916 rebellion, organised by Republicans and Socialists. This was violently suppressed by the British Army. Large parts of Dublin city centre were destroyed. This was a pivotal moment. 3 years later, a full-scale war of independence began. By 1921, the British, severely weakened, opened negotiations with representatives of the Irish Republican movement. This resulted in a treaty in December 1921 which granted partial independence to 26 of Ireland's 32 counties. This compromise divided the Republican movement. As British troops withdrew from the 26 counties, tensions grew as many members of the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, were deeply unhappy with the treaty. Soon, the Four Courts was centre stage. In April 1922, a number of armed IRA volunteers, led by Rory O'Connor, occupied the complex in protest against the treaty. This was met with an authoritarian response from the new Irish government. In June, they launched a ferocious assault on the building. The complex was shelled from the quays and soon the Four Courts were ablaze. During the intense fighting, the Public Records Office, containing historical documents stretching back over 800 years, was used as a weapons dump. Unfortunately, it was accidentally struck in the crossfire and the explosives inside detonated. The destruction was immense. The documents detailing Ireland's history stretching back centuries were burned and scattered to the four winds. Ernie O'Malley, a Republican inside the Four Courts, later recalled the vista. The yard was littered with chunks of masonry and smouldering records. Pieces of white paper were gyrating in the upper air like seagulls. The explosion seemed to give an extra push to roaring orange flames which formed patterns across the sky. Not long afterwards, the Republicans inside the complex had to flee the burning Four Courts. This event triggered the Irish Civil War, which would last through much of the following year. The Four Courts itself was destroyed. However, 10 years later it had been rebuilt and was reopened in 1932. However, the loss to medieval Irish history was irreparable.